Hey guys, how is everyone doing? Long time no speak. Apologies for not being as active on here recently, but my energy and my focus has just been on my trading, so naturally YouTube is just taking a little bit of a step back. But I'm back and I'm pretty excited to get into this video. It's going to be really good to share what I've been up to in January and also dive into a trade recap later on and just show you guys a few trades that I've taken throughout January, how I've entered them, how I've managed them, and also a couple of key lessons that I've taken away, which is really going to help me going forward as well. So January's been a pretty solid month in terms of growth. I feel like I've grown as a person and as a trader. There's definitely been a lot of ups and downs throughout the month, but again, it's all growth. The journey isn't a straight line. There's going to be so many ups and downs along the way. But if you just have tunnel vision and you just focus on moving forward on a daily basis, then eventually you're going to get there and everything's going to pay off in the future. So the focus in January and for the remainder of Q1 is just honestly doing as much as I can to just constantly improve, making sure I'm doing everything possible during the day to constantly improve on a daily basis. And how I'm doing that in terms of trading is basically three things. So back testing is probably one of the main ones. So right now I know that I need to work on refining my entries. So really doubling down and refining my entries through, back testing, chart time, constant repetition, activating the subconscious mind in terms of seeing those, entries over and over and over again. And eventually you reach that stage of, unconscious confidence and in terms of ingraining that within your subconscious mind. So yeah, that's what I've been doing in terms of back testing, just really honing in on entries. And I don't feel like I've got it all the way down yet, but it's definitely a work in progress and I feel like I've made a lot of progress this month. So the second thing is forecasting, so planning well ahead of trades, sometimes weeks in advance for these bigger moves, but really honing in on forecasting, again, the repetition side of it, ingraining it within your subconscious mind over and over and over again until it becomes second nature, until it becomes subconscious. A bit like driving, right? When you first start out driving, like everything's conscious, you're aware of all this stuff, but over time you slowly make that transition into the subconscious stage. So that's the stage I'm trying to get to within my trading. So the third and final thing is the Falcon content, just working through the Falcon content like the trade recaps, quick tips, all these video series and documents, and really just honing in on activating subconscious mind again through repetition like I mentioned before, and just really putting my wholehearted energy into the content whilst I'm watching it and really paying attention to the small details such as the language that Mark uses when he describes a trade, or when a trade doesn't go in his favour, etc, etc. Like all these little things you pick up from going through it over and over again makes a massive difference. And the amount of times I've been through it for the fourth or fifth time and then picked up the biggest thing, like it's crazy. So those are the biggest three things that I've been working on. Going into February, I'm really going to be focusing on two main things. So I noticed through my ASR that I have a tendency every so often to take average trades, which is not a bad thing. It's going to slip in every now and then. No one's perfect. No, you don't expect to be perfect, right? It's all about progression. But at the same time, like they do slip in more than they should be. So I really want to iron that out and really stick to the high quality setups as much as possible, because the goal is to stick to my trading plan, 90-95% of the time, allowing that little bit of discretion in there as well. So that's one thing that I really want to work on. And the other thing is sometimes I have a tendency to jump into trades a little bit early. So really, again, like I mentioned before, refining my entries. I've not got it drilled down as much as I want to yet, so really honing in on that and really trying to work on that as much as possible. And yeah, that's going to be big. That's going to be a massive difference because, again, once I get it ingrained within my mind, it's going to become second nature, and that's a big thing within trading. So that is my January in a nutshell. Definitely a lot of growth, definitely a lot of areas I can improve on. So it's going to be really good taking those lessons into February. But talking about lessons, I think it's going to be really good to jump on the charts now, go through a couple of entries, management and lessons that I've taken away from trades throughout this month. So without further ado, let's get into it. So to kick things off with this trade recap, I want to go over three positions that I've taken throughout January 2019 that I've definitely learned from, and it's going to be good to dive into the entries, how I manage them, and any lessons that I've taken away throughout this month through these positions. So
Looking at dollar CAD position, this has just been insane throughout January, and the move's not even started yet in a way. So once we break this overall structure, the move's going to be really take off. So it's going to be an interesting one to get into. But looking on the daily chart first and foremost, what we have within the bigger structure is this is purely impulse, correction, impulse, correction to the downside, anticipating these bigger moves to the downside based on this overall structure and how these patterns behave consistently within the market. So if we just zoom up a little bit to where I took the trade. So the first trade was taken just before the new year on the 31st of December 2018. Looking at this overall move as just one big correction, as I outlined before. Structure highs, so we're at the top of the structure, and we've gone from impulse. This is just one big correction, and then this move is very, very corrective. So naturally looking for selling opportunities at the highs here to take it down to the downside. So the first trade, if we go over to lower time frames, was, so if we just take this back on the replay mode, there was an opportunity here. So this was a solid opportunity that I didn't get involved in, basically because this was at market close and didn't get involved after the market open. Obviously wanted the spreads to calm down and things like that, so didn't get involved in the trade naturally. At this trade, just waiting for more opportunities to then sell the trade, any move to here or move down, continuation to then sell that, but looking for selling opportunities. So if I just zoom up a bit so you can see that clearly. As we move down correctively, giving us signs that we may get one more move to the upside. And then when we do that, paying attention to this area now, we have that triple top looking good for entries. So that's looking really, really nice. And then we get the entry. So I was entered in after that trade, after that hourly close for a 25 pip stop, just above the height. To be fair, with this one, it is quite tight and I could have gone 13, been a little bit more conservative, but did opt for 25 in that situation. But can definitely learn a lesson from that. I could have gone with 30 pips, just been more conservative in that situation. Dollar CAD does have a tendency to sometimes create bigger structures and tag you out before the drop, so bearing that in mind. So the first target with this trade was see how we react to the low at 3.3 and then see how far we can take it. And we know the bigger structure is we actually had this in at this point. So we had this structure in here. So see how we react to here, 4%, and then obviously the bigger target, 26%. It could have been an absolute beast of a trade. So if we just zoom in on this a little bit, got taken in after that trade, after the hourly close, got taken into the trade, kind of just hovered around for a little bit, and then we start to get the impulse is lower. So then after that impulse, I then locked in profit at the trend line, locking in profit in a way that giving enough room for price to breathe, but then also taking a message from the market if we begin to retrace and get any deeper structure. So locked in 1.1 there, then was taken out. So I was happy with that trade, happy with the management. If anything on this, I could have actually left that at break even looking back on this. And the reason for that is it's because they over a high time frame structure. So if this was just correct around and then drop, I wouldn't be in the trade, right? I'd be taken out. So that's definitely a lesson I would take from that. If that wasn't at structure highs, then I'd be happy with the management. But if anything, could have left that at break even. Happy to take the break even on that. But did get out that trade for 1.1% profit. So as this developed a little bit, there was another entry here that could have gone from there. So that was a solid entry as well. Didn't get involved in that. And then we did have an entry here that I didn't get involved in either, which was a solid trade. Would have been, say 26. Would have been entered on the 15-minute chart, but I'm just going to show you on the 1 hour for this one. Utilizing the Falcon strategy to enter into these. So first target would have been 2.4. Second target to the low, we can see 18%. And then the mind just boggles. There's so much potential within this trade. And nothing's actually changed. Although this looks messy, nothing's actually changed. It's just volatility. And dollar CAD, this is just typical nature of dollar CAD before we get the bigger drops. And this was just an absolute beast of a trade that just played out to perfection. Got a correction there, could have scaled into. And this was actually incredible position that I didn't get involved in, and actually learned a lot of lessons from this, from not taking advantage of the market. But yeah, first trade, from that trade, 1.1% profit. Didn't capitalize on any of this move. So much potential within this move. 3 trades to get involved in the actual bigger move. Even some opportunities down here that I didn't get involved in. So definitely something to learn from there. Going over to this trade now. If I just back out to the high time frames once again. So what we forecasted weeks ago is starting to materialize now. So what we got is the impulse. This is just a correction to that impulse lower, similar to what we had over here. So if we look over here, again here we just got impulse correction, impulse correction, impulse lower to complete the overall move. Looking at the exact same thing here. So we got the impulse, correction, anticipating that bigger move to the downside based on how these patterns behave over and over and over again. So if we just delete this for now. So what we got within here, if we just take this back, I actually took a few losses in within this trade because within this area, based on the fact that whenever we're in this area and we're at the top of the structure, we're anticipating moves to the downside to complete this overall pattern of this impulse correction to the downside. So I'm happy to take break-evens and losses within here and then catch the move, because the key thing to take away is it's the winners that take care of the losses. So if you take, 3 losses within here, capped at 1%, those 1% losses are capped, and then if you take the winner, it could potentially go on to bank you 10, 20%, and then the winner obviously takes care of the losses. So that's something I really learned throughout this month. I used to focus on the losses a lot, but now just focusing on the winners, they just really take care of the losses when you bank those bigger percentage returns based on those bigger moves. So that's something I've really taken away from this month. So this trade was a loss, but I really want to go over it because there's definitely lessons, and I will definitely take the same trade again. So to go over this, we have this bigger continuation pattern, looking for sell setups at the highs, then got triggered in after that double top. We moved down, but just zoom up into this area. We moved down, started to trickle our way down. If I just delete this, we didn't have this at the time. Overall first target is 3% and then 10.5. So we started to trickle our way down. Not really much momentum, didn't get any impulses or confirmation to the downside. And then we started to trickle our way up, form this ascending channel. And then I actually got taken out after this wick. So it looks like I've stayed in the trade. It looks like I've stayed in the trade, but I've just actually been taken out by, if we just measure that, literally like a pip, 2 pips. So it's the spread. So happy with that. Got taken out, but here's the lesson. I got taken out for the 1% loss within that situation. But as soon as I got taken out, nothing had actually changed. So I know, okay, nothing's actually changed. The structure hasn't been compromised, which is something we go over in Falcon quite a lot. Ask yourself the question, has the structure been compromised? And if in this situation it hasn't, nothing's changed. We just created a deeper version of itself. And then literally 5, 10, 15 minutes after that I was tagged out for 1%, I was then back into the trade with a 30 pip stop. And it was 51. There we go. And then first target was just under 3 to there, and then 10.5 to the lows as a real first target to really pay attention to, see how we react. So then I was triggered into the trade. Price just kind of hovered around for a little bit. Then we started to get the impulses, and then continuation. So this was another trade that I didn't get involved in. Impulse to the downside, and this is live. So this is the live market right now. So the markets are currently closed, but I'm currently in this trade. Currently got 2.5% locked into the trend line, and I'm currently in this position. So right now, just focusing on how far we can take this move, looking for continuation to take this to the downside, and also taking a message from the market if we get any sort of retraces or any bigger continuations. and I'll just take a message from the market and take profit in an area around about here. So super interesting move. So many lessons within that, and I think the biggest lesson for me throughout this month is there is absolutely nothing wrong with taking a position and taking a loss. So like here, I took the loss, but there is everything wrong with taking the loss and not taking the next trade. This is something that Mark says within Falcon quite a lot, and it's something that's super key in terms of capitalizing on those bigger trades. Because I took the loss here, so I took the trade here, took the loss, but if I hadn't have got involved in that move, you see how you take the loss and then you don't take the bigger trade. It's not about that. It's even if you take the loss or the break even, it's about getting into the next trade that matters the most. So that's something that Mark says within Falcon quite a lot, and it really started to hit home early January, and it's something that I've definitely learned from. So that's the reason. Again, like just adapting to the market. Nothing's changed at this point. Got straight back in after the loss. Nothing's changed, and now we're currently running about 4.5% profit with the first target here at 10. So that was the lessons from the trade recap. Hope you enjoyed it.
So to end out this video, I really hope you've enjoyed the overall video, the trade recap and things like that. Really enjoyed filming it, really enjoyed making it. I think it's going to be incredible to look back on it. You know, I'm big on like documentation and looking back on certain things like this, so it's going to be an incredible feeling looking back on this in a year's time, seeing the progression in real time. But yeah, something that I'm really paying attention to right now going forward as well, in terms of the trade recaps, is, you know, paying attention to the language that I'm using whilst I'm describing trades. Making sure that I'm speaking in abundance rather than lack, and like little things like this. So yeah, it's going to be really good to get into more of these in the future, and I look forward to doing more. But what I'm probably going to do on the next video, or a video in the near future, is a Q&A. So if you have any questions whatsoever, drop them down below in the comment section, and I will probably pick the best 3 to 5 questions that I can answer in more detail and just cover them on the next video. So really excited to that. And yeah, hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll speak to you all soon. See you in the next video. Peace out.